I had my illegitimate son and his mom deported. I came from old money and I wasn't the best lad growing up. When I found a wife I started cheating on her with one of the Mexican maids. I got her pregnant around the same time I got my wife pregnant. After the boys, Martin and Jorge, were born I made the maid and in-house maid and nanny under the guise of being charitable and giving Martin a lifelong friend. The boys practically grew up together and I pulled some strings so the Jorge could attend the same schools as he lived in the house. If my wife ever suspected she never let on. Around the time the boys were 15 I walked in on them being intimate. I didn't know how long this had been going on, but Martin begged and pleaded for me to not do anything to Jorge. That he loved him. They didn't know they were brothers and I'm not gonna lie, homophobia was a part of it too. I called and reported Jorge's mom as illegal and she of course had to take Jorge with her as she was his only family here. I set them up an account in Mexico that took care of their needs as long as his mom cut all contact with us. Martin has never forgiven me for this. He just thinks I'm so old homophobe. The sex is really bad. Is it okay to break up with someone because the sex sucks? After our first time I lost so much interest in her. I wasn't turned on, I had to initiate and do everything. She didn't want to get on top because she said it would hurt. She came but I didn't and I was just so off by the entire experience. Whenever we're out she won't kiss or show physical affection the way I do. I've asked her to be more affectionate and she replied I'm not an initiator. She's a really nice girl and very sweet and she tries really hard to show me she cares but I'm not sexually attracted to her at all. Sometimes I'm so horny but when I see her nothing happens because she's so reserved and in her shell. Like imagine having foreplay with a brick. I hope I'm not sounding like an ass but honestly what's the point of being in a relationship if you're not satisfied? I won't cheat because I don't believe in that but there's been times where I'm like how does she think it's okay to go this long without sex? It's like she thinks I have no sex drive. I'm even annoyed by the fact that I'm so deprived that I have to write this stupid confession. Like just because you're the man doesn't mean you should always be the one to start things. I'm a reasonably attractive guy and sometimes I feel more desired by other women than by my own girl. Maybe she has an extremely low sex drive but like when I kiss you at least kiss like there's feeling behind it. I don't understand how someone can constantly flood you with the words I love you but physically feel like a stranger every time. Anyway I think I just needed to vent. It's by far the worst intimacy I've had with anyone I've ever been with and that's not to compare her to any of my exes but I can't help but feel like something is wrong. I don't want to make her feel insecure so I'm scared if I bring it up it'll come out really nasty. I've only tried telling her that I want her to show more affection, to not be scared to touch me and also make me feel desired as her man. She did for like a week and since we've gone back to where we started. Now I can go a whole day without kissing her, not even like a peck. In fact sometimes I do it just to see if she'll do or say something. Nothing. I lied to my wife about agreeing about aborting. Me, am 32, and my wife, F31, have 2 kids and have been together 12 years now. After our second child who's 3 now, she decided to finally invest in herself. She never got to study because had to start working early and never had a supportive family and then we got our first kid quite early. She was 23. She always worked in retail which made her super frustrated and unhappy personally and she always had the dream to study something she liked. After our second kid started going to daycare, around 8 months old, she started her studies. She has now finished them and has started working by her own. Several clients already waiting for her availability and she feels really accomplished. This finally happened after several years trying to do it but it was never the right timing. Back when she was studying, she got her 3rd pregnancy, unplanned, and she was quite decided to abort. I believe this is a decision of 2. I understood early that she had made up her mind. We had a talk, she shared her views about me having a successful career and she's been postponing hers since ever because of different reasons but regardless it was a truly difficult decision for her. She said that if I wanted to have the baby she would have it with me but that she knew that personally she would be really unhappy. The way she said it I could see that this could only go one way. She has mentioned some months after that she regrets. When was my time to talk? I told her I agree with her and that she should invest in her and it's time for her to pursue career fulfillment etc. She doesn't know this but I lied. I'm against abortion and I'd have that baby 1,000 times. But it was so clear to me that she didn't want that baby that I couldn't force her to. But I also knew this was going to be very difficult for her, the decision, the process. So I instantly decided to not let her feel she's taking that decision alone and that I was on board. That's why I lied. Most of the time I don't think about it. It's like I've erased that from my mind. We don't talk about it because it's a taboo in our relationship. But when that memory unlocks from time to time, oh boy, that shit hits hard, just like right at this moment, numb state. I've kept this to myself since then and I don't trust telling anyone. It just feels somewhat relieving to write to the world but at the same time keep to myself. So if you've read this, thank you. Feels like a big weight being lifted from my shoulder. I randomly found cash under my bed. I rarely look or clean under my bed, I don't store anything under it as well. There's only plain floor. Today I was vacuuming the bedroom, looked under the bed, and found €70 in banknotes lol. Pretty sure they aren't mine, I rarely have cash, I use cards. I'm so confused as to how they got there. I rarely have people over, but someone may have left or dropped it. Anyway, an unusual place to drop STH by accident, right in the middle under the bed. Ex-girlfriend's roommate's dog used to eat her out when she got home after we had the deed. I recently became friends with my ex. We had very little contact over the last few years since we broke up. We've hung out quite a few times over the past few weeks, usually going for walks or just grabbing a drink while we chat. A few nights ago we were talking about her old roommate and she absolutely floored me with a confession. She said that some nights her roommate's big female dog would follow her around and sniff her relentlessly, and would even paw at the door and whine if she locked her out of her bedroom. She and her roommate couldn't figure out what was going on until one day my ex realized that it was only the nights we had the deed earlier, especially if I had finished inside of her. She said one night the pup was relentless, so she decided to let the dog sniff her to let him get it out of their system once her roommate had gone to sleep. It sniffed her for a while, but instead of going away it started licking her. Long story short, it eventually evolved into a routine where she would get home after we had the deed, the dog would follow her around like usual, but after her roommate went to bed my ex would leave the door open when she went to bed and the dog would come in and lick her. She told me that she didn't bother wearing underwear those nights after a while. So there it is. I still can't believe it. She was worried she was going to go to jail or something, but it turns out it is actually legal in that state. I don't know how to feel about it. The dog was female, so it's not like they were doing anything else, but my brain just can't process this.